and welcome to another lecture of the course Aquaculture. Today I am going to talk about integrated fish farming, and within this lecture I shall be focusing more on introduction to integrated fish farming and little bit details of duck cum fish culture or fish cum duck farming. The first thing which comes in mind is when somebody is already doing fish culture, what is the need of integrating it with another culture? Maybe two cultures can be done separately. Of course, you can do two cultures separately. But the idea probably came into mind of the people that when we construct pond, then entire pond area is not having water. About 40 to 60% of the total pond area is occupied by dikes, and it remains in many of the cases unutilized. So we are culturing fish only in that area of the pond which is having water, but the land area is unutilized. So people thought that, okay, why not utilize this land area also, do something which can be beneficial or profitable. So when you integrate one kind of culture system, say for example you can go for growing vegetables, or farming cattle, or these goats, sheeps, or maybe ducks, then it could be profitable. So likewise, integrating one type of culture system to the other may be termed as integrated fish farming. Integrating fish farming with any of the other culture activities may be called as integrated fish farming. You will find many definitions of this, that and emphasizing on how it is done and what is the benefit. Here it is said that basic principles involved in integrated farming are the utilization of the synergistic effects of interrelated farm activities and the conservation, including the full utilization of farm waste. One very important thing here is to understand that if you observe it carefully, you will find it in many kind of systems, that the waste generated by one system may be considered as a resource for the another system. So it is based on that concept. Why we do not recycle the waste for its utility in some other system, in fishes or in poultry or in cattle farming. Whatever waste you are getting, you can use that as a resource in supporting another system. Integrated fish farming, like I told you about fish farming, integrated fish farming also started very early, and it is considered that Chinese started this maybe 2000 years ago. In India also, it is documented somewhere that about 1500 years ago people did integrated fish farming, and this is being practiced in many parts of the world where fish farming was done. People having that agrarian background, they tried to raise some other kind of food product or other activities going on that fish farm area. Now, what are advantages of integrated fish farming? As I told you earlier, recycling of wastes. In fact, wastes, if you analyze the fecal matter of poultry or ducks, you will find that they are rich in nutrient content. So that fecal matter may be a very good resource for the pond to raise the natural productivity of the pond, to increase the natural productivity of the pond, so that more primary productivity is there, for more phytoplankton are produced, and thereby more zooplankton may also be produced, which is considered as an excellent source of fish food. Then increase productivity. The primary productivity of the pond will increase, secondary productivity will be increased, and ultimately the fish productivity will also be increased. They will get good quality, more number of natural food items, and that will help the farmer and the fish to grow. Employment opportunities. Most of these activities, fish farming or other duck farming or cattle farming, they are done in rural areas where the avenues for avenues for employment are not that substantial. So in those regions, there are a lot of people just looking for some opportunity to earn money, to earn for a living. So in those areas, if you are offering opportunity for the people to engage in such culture practices or farming practices, of course you are generating employment. Then increase economic benefits. When you are doing two farming simultaneously with many of the requirements of the two farming systems being common, then of course by putting in less effort, you are going to earn more money. Your profit will certainly increase, and that will make the entire whole process economically viable and increase the um, income of the farming activity. Increases the income of the rural population. Almost the same thing, since employment generation is there, there will be more income, and I told you that is basically more in the rural population. So ultimately the rural economy and the objective of many of our the countries, the organizations like WHO, they are all World Bank, they are all there for supporting the marginalized people, the rural people, to improve their economy. And ultimately, if we are doing this kind of thing, then rural economy is going to increase, perform better. Then suitable means of land reclamation. As I told you that dikes, in many cases, dikes of the pond, they remain unutilized. They are not utilized for any purpose. Or if they are utilized for any purpose, they're seasonally or sometimes they are used, but most of the times of the year they are unutilized. So if you are using any unutilized land for some productive purpose, that is again one of the good contributions to the overall well-being of that farm and the people involved in the farming practices. What are different types of integrated fish farming systems? It depends on what kind of farming practice other than fish you can integrate with fish farm or pond culture. If you are already doing fish farming, or if you are going to do fish farming, then what kind of farming activities you can integrate with that type of farming system. So, or sometimes you have such kind of land and water area available where you can have, say for example, if the low lying land having problem of water logging or water retention is more, and there is more rainfall in the region, then of course you will be looking for some varieties of rice which can grow in that region. But the water logging problem, water retention problem may pose a threat to your rice plant also. I mean, beyond a limit, water may hamper the growth, and the rice plantation may get spoiled. So ultimately, you need to integrate something. So if you are doing fish culture with that, there are many ways that the health of rice plantation as well as the profitability from fish culture both are improved. So depending on the requirement, depending on the locality, depending on the climate, you can have many type of integrated fish farming practices. For example, if it is done with paddy farming, then it is known as fish cum paddy farming or paddy cum fish culture. Many names you can give. Fish cum duck farming, if you are using duck culture along with fish culture. or fish cum poultry farming, if you are going for poultry farming, and alongside you are doing fish farming. Then fish cum pig farming, if you are going for pig farm along with fish farm, then fish cum pig farming, or fish cum cattle farming, if you are raising cattle. So it's only on the basis of which farming system you are going to integrate with the fish farming, you can name accordingly. Now I will discuss here one of this as an example. I will give you two examples. I will discuss two examples of this, but first I will discuss it here, fish cum duck farming, or that is also popularly called as duck cum fish culture. So what is this and how we do, what kind of duck varieties, what are different fishes which we can stock, and briefly about the entire process. As the name indicates, duck cum fish culture or fish cum duck farming, it is a combination of fish culture with rearing of ducks. Here what we do, we reduce the cost of feed for ducks, and we get fertilizers or nutrients, in fact, for the pond, which increase the fish production. So what is the benefit of doing this? Since ducks are raised along with fishes, I mean there is pond, fish culture is going on, and you are raising ducks also. So ducks will get some of their foods like insects and other things from the pond. So their food requirement will be less, decreased, and the droppings of the duck, the fecal matter of the duck, will be utilized in the ponds as nutrients for increasing the natural food productivity. So feed cost, when we are going for culture practice, feed cost is one of the major inputs that decides the economic viability of the operation. So if we are able to reduce the feed cost or input cost in general, then the culture operation becomes more sustainable and economically viable. So it helps in that. Then we have what are the regions where it is practiced? It is practiced in many places, many regions of the world where ducks are being reared, and where there are facilities of fish farming, they can do it. You can see here Europe, China, Philippines, Africa, India, Thailand, many places. And both the farming subsystems mutually reinforce each other, that we have been discussing. This is peculiar photograph of duck cum fish culture, where what has been done, an earthen pond was there, one duck house has been made, and that duck house has been provided a pathway from where ducks can go into the pond and they can come again into their house. So this kind of arrangement can be made. This is it doesn't matter that you are going for extensive fish culture or semi-intensive fish culture. Of course, we do not do it with intensive one, but since natural food production is involved and utilization of duck droppings as nutrient is involved, so we will have to go for semi-intensive or extensive fish culture. Here you can have this kind of system, or we can discuss some more details. What are now advantages of these systems? What kind of advantages these two subsystems avail in the combined operation of in the integrated duck cum fish culture? Advantages to fish culture subsystem. What are advantages to fish culture subsystem? Here a very interesting point is written: ducks are the volunteer aerators. What happens that when they swim and chase each other in the pond, when they are swimming or chasing each other in the pond, that means they are agitating water. And when water is agitated, then atmospheric oxygen gets dissolved into the water. And fishes need oxygen in dissolved form. That is why dissolved oxygen content is one of the very important parameters in water quality analysis for fish culture. So the dissolved oxygen content may be increased by normal behavior of ducks swimming in the pond and chasing each other in the pond. So that is a kind of very good help to the fish. Then the droppings of the duck distributed all over the pond surface. When you have ducks moving from one place to the other within the pond during the daytime, they may be releasing fecal matter and their droppings that may be going down into the pond bottom and ultimately making the pond bottom nutrient rich, which will enable the pond ecosystem to increase its primary productivity and ultimately providing more and more food for the natural food for the fishes stocked over there. And when more natural food will be provided, that also means requirement for food from outside or supplementation of food from outside will also decrease. So that will also decrease the input cost of the entire aquaculture operation. So that is another advantage. Then you must be providing feed to ducks also. Since you are rearing ducks, you may be expecting some kind of profit from the duck farming also, duck rearing also. So you must be providing some kind of food to ducks. In addition to whatever they are getting from the pond, you may also be providing some food to the ducks. So whatever is left, where it will go? You can use again that as nutrient for your pond. So pond is getting benefited, fishes are getting benefited by getting more and more nutrients from the duck house or duck rearing system, and ducks are getting benefited by getting good environment for swimming and getting live food or natural food from the pond that improves their growth performance. So both are benefited. Here in case of advantages to duck rearing subsystem, fish ponds provide an excellent environment for ducks that I just discussed, that they are getting better environment, so their growth performance will improve. You will get more biomass. Then no additional land is required for housing ducks. You can use dikes, or sometimes we also make duck houses over the pond surface, just few feet away. Few feet upwards of the water surface of the pond. Then ducks can collect a considerable part of their nutrient requirements from the pond by means of eating whatever natural food item is available there. That means when they are already getting some food from the pond, their requirement for artificial diet from outside source that you need to provide, that reduces drastically, and that will impact the overall input cost that we will have to put in for duck rearing also. So input cost in both the cases, input feed cost is major in cost in case of farming systems. So animal farming systems that we are talking about. So we are reducing the input cost in case of duck rearing, we are reducing the input cost in case of fish rearing. So that is going to maximize the benefit or profit from the integrated fish farming system, integrated duck cum fish farming system. What are different duck strains that are used? That depends on the environment where you are going to carry out this operation. So in different countries, in different regions, people have used different kind of duck strains. For example, there is one Peking ducks, mule ducks, Muscovy ducks, and Khaki Campbell ducks. So in India, we are mostly using Khaki Campbell ducks. So it all depends on the kind of environment you are having. You can have any of these strains. One strain that may not be beneficial in one region, that may give out very good growth rate and very good profit to the farmers in another region of the country or in any other country. So these are photographs of some of these varieties of the ducks which are used in integrated duck cum fish culture. What are different fish species that is used in different countries? Again, if you have understood the type of farming systems that I talked in my previous lectures based on intensification of the practice: extensive aquaculture, semi-intensive aquaculture, and intensive aquaculture. In extensive aquaculture, we did not use any food from outside with very less management. And in semi-intensive, we used natural food as a source for fishes, source food for fishes, but that was not sufficient for the fishes, so we had to provide food from outside also, supplement food from outside also to the fishes. But since we are utilizing the natural food in semi-intensive aquaculture as well as in extensive aquaculture, that means we also need earthen ponds for these systems. So here for duck cum fish culture, we need to have earthen ponds, because here the benefit of duck rearing or the waste of the duck rearing, that is fecal matter or droppings, that will be utilized for nutrient enrichment of the pond, that will be possible only if it is having it is being done in earthen ponds. So we can go for either extensive fish culture or semi-intensive fish culture. We know that when we are doing fish culture, then monoculture is not that beneficial if you are not going it on intensive scale. In extensive and semi-intensive, polyculture is very beneficial, very profitable. And in polyculture, you all know that we usually have IMCs, surface feeder Katla Katla, then column feeder Labiorohita, and then bottom feeder Siranus mercala. These three fishes, or any other fish you wish, you can stock, but you should practice that in earthen pond. And you may have many different fishes also. That solely depends on the type of pond, the supply of water, the water quality, the market demand, and your objective, of course. So depending on that, you can have any of the fishes which are suitable for polyculture. So it depends on entirely on you, what you are selecting, one species or many species. And in different countries, people, according to the availability of the fishes or popularity of the fishes for culture, they use the species accordingly. How the ponds are managed in this? So we can have, in fact, normal pond, which we have discussed already. Here they have written an average depth of 1.5 meter, that is quite common. The pond should be prepared following key steps, the same steps in fact: drying, then eradicating or controlling aquatic weeds, then predatory fishes and weed fishes should also be removed. Aquatic insects, they should also be removed from there, and then manuring or fertilizing the pond. So then the pond will be prepared for, as you have done it for semi-intensive aquaculture. Then how do we stock? Here you will have to be little, alert that if we are using fingerlings, then, and we should use fingerlings, we should never use fish fries for stocking. About 10 centimeter in size, then it should be at 6,000 per hectare. That depends on your, again I am saying, many factors. What water quality and food availability and many other things. So, but remember one thing, that you do not have to stock very small size fishes, because they may end up being the duck food. When ducks come into the pond, if very small fishes are there, they will eat them also. So always try to stock the fish which is larger than their mouth size, which they do not easily can feed upon. For example, 10 centimeter is okay. The fishes become very active, and it will be very difficult for them to catch. And of course, by passage of time, they will grow further. Ducks can be said living manuring machines. I told you about biological aerators, and now they are also called living manuring machines. You can give fascinating names to this because they are moving all around the pond during the daytime. So they will be dropping the excreta, and that will act as excellent manure. They provide very good fertilizer, of course, that we have already discussed. The duck droppings contain 25% organic and 20% inorganic substances. And in fact, in general, if you wish to, get an idea, then that is very rich in nutrients, the fecal matter, the droppings, and that is very helpful in increasing the productivity of the pond. Now, a little bit about duck husbandry, how it is done. Low-cost duck house can be constructed. You can use the resources required for duck house construction depending on the availability of the cheap, locally available materials that can be utilized so as to reduce the input cost. That is very important. They are simple shelters that provide shade from the sun, protection from heavy rain, and that we all know. Height of the house should be 4 to 5 feet to prevent them from predators. I mean, these things you will have to take care, and we take care that when we house this, then predators or other animals should not harm the ducks. The area of the house will depend on the number of ducks, of course. Generally, this one is important. 4 square feet of space is required for each duck. So you can calculate accordingly so that they can have good growth, comfortable shelter and good growth. Ducks, here they have written ducks do not like wire floors. Cement floors may also lead to cracked eggs. But what I should tell you that it's not that wired or cement or whatever, you can decide what material you are going to use. What people do, many people, have some kind of material like dry grass or hay, which help them to protect the eggs. So eggs are not, damaged. But you can come up with many other alternative materials. If the bottom of the duck house is having mesh, and if you have prepared the duck house slightly over the pond water, then the droppings will go down directly into the pond. So you don't need to spend money on the labor to get the droppings and then again carry it to the pond. So that depends on you. You can come up with some other kind of alternative material. There are different materials which people use and which can protect eggs also, and which can help you to get the droppings distributed naturally. During the daytime, the duck manure is spread on the pond by the duck themselves, that we have already. During night time, what they say that if you are using the dry grasses or hay, then you can collect the manure that will not go automatically into the pond in the morning, and then you can apply it into the pond. About 200 to 300 ducks per hectare are stocked in this farming system. It is always advisable not to use too many ducks for culturing on a pond, because when you will have too many of ducks, when you suppose you said, okay, why 200, 300, I can increase it to 1000. But ultimately, the droppings which are beneficial, they may become harmful also if you are exceeding it beyond a limit to the pond ecosystem. So always go for whatever is moderate. So this is the one which I was talking about, duck house, which has been prepared over the pond. So here you can get the droppings automatically into the pond environment. Raising of ducks. Ducks can be raised in two ways: extensive raising or intensive raising. In extensive raising, only a small amount of supplementary duck feed is provided, and number of ducks is limited. Of course, as in case of extensive farming, fish farming system, I have explained to you. Here also, when we are going for extensive system, then we will have to use less number of ducks, and we will provide them very limited food. There are many places where this is being done, so it's not that it is done only in Europe. Many places, other places, then we go for intensive rearing, in which we can increase the number of ducks, because we may be using larger water bodies, and we may be giving them more feed Production of fish cum duck culture, here it has been, a comparative account that what kind of inputs we need and how we can get benefited from this. In India, for example, if we introduce 100 ducks per hectare, and if in case of fishes 6340 per hectare, then what we are getting? We are getting 250 kg of duck meat and 1835 eggs. That is in addition to 4323 kilogram per hectare per year of fish. So when you combine these two benefits, the fish production as well as duck production, then it becomes very beneficial. In other countries also, people have shown how things move. And that's all about duck cum fish culture, the first example of integrated fish farming. In the next lecture, I will provide you another good, very interesting example.